Update. Am I the a-hole for not giving stepdaughter's old room back to her? Original post. My husband has 2 kids from a previous relationship, a daughter who is now 20 and a son who is 23. By the time my husband and I got married, they had already moved out of the house and were living on their own. Because of that, our living space naturally shifted over time. We welcomed a baby boy last year, and since we needed a nursery, we converted my stepdaughter's old bedroom into our baby's room. It made sense because the room was the right size, close to ours, and we needed a dedicated space for the crib, baby furniture, and all the supplies. Fast forward to now, both stepkids suddenly want to move back in. My stepdaughter recently lost her job and can't keep up with rent at her place anymore, and my stepson has just finished college. Since he moved back to our city, he's looking for somewhere affordable to live until he finds stable work. Naturally, they both turned to us and asked if they could come back home for a while. I told them they are more than welcome to move back in, but there's a catch. They'll have to share my stepson's room. The reason is simple. Our baby's room is no longer a spare bedroom. It's not storage space, and it's not sitting there unused. It's our son's nursery. All his clothes, toys, crib, and essentials are in that room. I'm not about to box everything up or rent a storage unit just to accommodate 2 adults who had already moved out years ago. They made their choice to leave, and I wasn't going to hold the rooms empty forever just in case. They didn't take it well. Both of them were upset and said I was being unreasonable, calling me an a-hole for not giving them the baby's room. They argued that they grew up in this house too, so they should have some claim to their old spaces. But the reality is they are adults now, not children. My responsibility first and foremost is to the baby who actually lives here full-time and needs his own safe space. I didn't shut the door on them. I offered them a solution, but it's on them if they don't like it. The way I see it, we're already doing them a favor by letting them come back at all. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Why are you having to be the bad guy? It seems like your husband's problem to solve, not the a-hole. Because they keep arguing with me while he is not around. He has made it clear that either they take that one room that is given to them or they can just leave. Start turning a recorder on your phone when your husband is not around and the stepkids are. Make sure they do not notice, then show husband how they treat you when he is not around. Maybe he will realize they should not move back in. Maybe they can share a cheap apartment. I don't need to. He believes me over anyone. I just don't want to be that kind of stepmom. If I told him they are bothering me, he wouldn't let them stay here at all. Does your home have a basement? Where is your husband in this equation? It has an unfinished basement that needs a lot of work done and will cost us a lot. We have a baby. It's expensive. We don't have extra money to just finish the basement for them. My husband agrees with me. They can move in and refinish the basement. Give them the basement. They need a roof over their heads, not every comfort they feel entitled to. They don't have the money either. Also, it needs to be temporary. I don't want 30-year-old adults living in my basement. I don't want them getting too comfortable. Now for the update. I decided to just tell my husband everything they have been saying. I didn't want to say something originally because I didn't want to cause problems between them, but they are old enough to know exactly what they are doing, so they should also be prepared for the consequences. I'm going through a lot lately. I'm still struggling with PPD that just doesn't seem to go away. I told my husband that I will never ask him to choose between me and his kids, but I have to choose between me and his kids, and I choose me. My mental health is important. His kids haven't even moved in, but they are already here all the time and they keep arguing and nagging and pushing me to my limits, and I can't worry about them sharing a room. I have enough problems already. I told him I'm gonna stay in a hotel for a few days because I need to be away from him and his kids. This includes the little one. I just need a few days off from being a parent. He didn't let me leave and instead took the baby and left. He returned about an hour ago. He had bought some takeout for me. He asked how I'm doing and said the baby is with his sister and is doing well. He gave me the keys he had given his kids and said he took them away, and they can't just walk in ever again and need permission from now on. He said I should have just said something sooner instead of waiting until I got to my breaking point. He's gonna help his kids find a cheap apartment and some roommates, and he will help them with rent for a few months until they can afford to pay it themselves. They are not happy, but he is not willing to give them more. He and our baby will stay with his sister for a night or two so I can get some rest, but if I want them back sooner, I can just call them and he will return. We are finally gonna repurpose stepson's room as well. It will just be a guest room for now, but he wants to buy some bookshelves too, so we can have a library as well. Well, I guess that's all. I'm very glad your husband stood up for you and baby. Quite frankly, adult kids need to understand they can't keep running home every time life gets hard. Maybe they can run home, but they can't expect their rooms and stuff to be available, the same way as when they have been living there before. Exactly. The problem is not the kids going back home because of whatever. The problem is that they expect to be treated as children. I was worried there for a minute when you said he wouldn't let you leave and he took the baby. But he took charge and had your back. Focus on yourself, OP. Do try to find some balance. See a doctor about that PPD. You don't have to wait until you're in a deep low to find professional help. The sooner you get help, the sooner you can get out of that low. Right? The whiplash from being ready to go to war with her husband for not letting her leave, and then taking off with the baby, and then coming back down when he returns with support, solutions, and a little bit of a chastising for not telling him sooner. Best kind of whiplash though. But also, OP, please speak with your doc about PPD and take this opportunity to really rest. You don't have to carry everything alone, and you aren't burdening anyone by sharing what's going on inside of you. Take the help. This is the village people talk about. It's not only about help with the kid, it's about helping you too. Next story. Update. Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother-in-law bring his kids over the weekends he has custody? Original post. This is kind of a long story, so I will try to keep it as short as possible. My brother-in-law, he is bipolar, divorced, and the father of 2 boys, 2 and 3. When we first met, and for the first several years I knew him, things seemed to be okay. He was dating and then engaged to his high school sweetheart, and we would mostly see them at typical family gatherings, holidays, birthdays, etc. The first sign of serious trouble began one year at Christmas, when I made fun of him for believing that crystals were great for curing all of life's issues. Keep in mind he has a degree in microbiology. At that point, he just stopped talking to anybody in the family for a literal year. About 18 months later, he and his wife separated because he claimed she was enabling him to not have a job, and he wanted to get a job. And so, surprise, my wife told me the day he moved in that he was moving in. He hadn't had a job in the 5 years after he left college. I wasn't thrilled about this, but as my wife says, family helps family. About 5 months later, he got a job and moved back in with his wife. Not 2 months after he moved out, they announced that they were pregnant. When their youngest was 1 year old, something happened. He probably became manic. He had been self-medicating with crystals and weed for years, and he quit his job randomly, a job that was paying him about $80,000 per year. Almost immediately after this, they announced that they were pregnant with their second child. Because it was during the pandemic, he struggled to find a job, but finally found something running Ethernet cables at a factory. 2 months after his second child was born, he freaked out again, leaving his wife and kids and claiming that his second child wasn't his kid. He continued to work for 2 more months. Then he suddenly up and drove from Texas to Northern California, where he lived in the mountains and bartered with old burnt-out hippies. After 3 months of this, he moved back to Texas and in with his parents. He finally got on bipolar meds 3 months after he got back, and for some reason his wife, they weren't divorced yet, let him move back in. And then he sold his car, a '96 4Runner. Fast forward 12 months, he is still unemployed, now divorced and living with his parents. He is basically a stay-at-home dad. His ex-wife is a school teacher, and the only way for her to make ends meet is to be on food stamps. They are just now trying to get into an official custody agreement where he takes care of them every other weekend. He doesn't want to take them to my in-law's house where he lives because my mother-in-law is addicted to pills. This situation is really bad. She basically doctor hops to get more pain meds. She weighs at least 400 pounds and is now so desperate for pain pills that she has broken 2 toes in the past month. The issue is now that he wants to conduct his custody weekends at my house. My wife, I love her to death. She will drop anything to help anybody, especially family. She is basically the only reason my nephews have clothes. She, of course, is like, I am here to help whatever you need. I, on the other hand, am happy to help, but certainly not every other weekend, and not when that means I have 3 more mouths to feed. It's me, my wife, and 2 daughters, 11 and 13. While my wife and I do have a large enough house, we are struggling financially ourselves. We are behind on bills and live paycheck to paycheck. This has never stopped my wife from spoiling our nephews. The issues? A. I do not like taking care of little kids. I had a hard time when my girls were their age, and I really had to grit my teeth and buckle down to get through those early years. I love my kids and would do anything for them, but I got a vasectomy because I was never gonna do babies again. B. I'm also ADHD, and having the nephews over is an absolute chore to me. They are loud. They run all throughout the house, throwing and dropping toys everywhere, and I literally count the minutes until they leave. We have them overnight about once a month, and while I try to have a good attitude, I just do not like it. And maybe I just don't like them, because I certainly don't mind my daughters having their friends sleep over, but I also don't worry about them electrocuting themselves or ripping a bookshelf off a wall. C, and this is probably my biggest issue. My brother-in-law is unemployed and has no assets to his name, not even a bicycle. While it is great that he takes care of kids all day, what is stopping him from working at least 20 hours a week? Certainly he could find a part-time job working 4 to 6 hours a day. My father-in-law would be thrilled to drive him to and from work. I am also worried about the precedent this puts on my wife and me moving forward. Certainly my mother-in-law, 66, will not be alive much longer. And my father-in-law, 67, has Alzheimer's. It's still early and he still functions well, but who knows when that will get worse, and we have to put him in assisted living. What are my brother-in-law's plans once his parents can no longer provide a place to live? I am certainly not letting an unemployed 37-year-old man with a college degree move in. I don't need more children. I understand that he is mentally ill, but I feel like my entire outlook on this situation would be different if he was contributing financially to his family and kids. My wife thinks I am an a-hole for my hesitancy and not wanting to help. This situation makes me so angry, I am even considering going to therapy to try and work through it. So, am I just a complete prick? Now for the top comments before reading the update. I'd tell your wife that this is divorce territory. If she wants to put a grown man who can't get it together over the stability of her family and ahead of her husband who she made vows to. Her brother is her extended family and became that once you signed the marriage license, not the a-hole. And to be clear, I would be willing to compromise and say that 1 weekend a month is doable. We kind of already do that. Where I get the issue is that, to me, I feel like one of the most important things I bring to my family is money, and if something happens to my current job, I would do anything in my power to contribute to my family's financial security, even working 2 jobs at odd hours if need be. And he is not doing that, and his kids are living off of food stamps. Not the a-hole, for not wanting every other weekend of your life to be invaded by your brother-in-law and his kids. It sounds like your brother-in-law needs some sort of social services help. Not sure what or if anything is available. Kind of doubt there is. But this should not be your responsibility. Maybe he needs to live in an assisted living facility where he can have his kids visit on his weekends. If the man can't support himself, what is going to happen when his parents get too old to support him and need care themselves? It looks like you, your wife, and in-laws need to sit down and make some decisions about the future. So during the weekdays, he goes over to his ex's house and watches the boys. I am told he is a really good father figure. But you have really hit one I am thinking on the head, which is, he needs to have some sort of income. His wife is an elementary art teacher. She needs financial help with the kids. And my wife and in-laws need to be looking 5 years down the road. Now for the update. My wife and I got into a big argument about this before work this morning. I am really bad with timing. My wife did angrily agree that we are not going to allow this, but I feel that she will be resentful and hold this against me for at least a month. Although she would say that I won, I don't really think that is the point of what I was trying to accomplish. My goal was to keep a peaceful household that I don't dread coming home to every other Friday, and also to keep my family from becoming enmeshed with his. I still feel like the bad guy because I know how much my wife loves the nephews and likes to take care of them. Thank you for all of the replies. They made me feel a bit more sane. Your wife needs to get therapy and stop acting like she's brother-in-law's mommy and needs to fix his life for him. He doesn't have to learn to manage his bipolar kids or life because your wife is convinced she needs to help him. I say again, just have a convo with a lawyer about the situation, should you need to separate for a while, and see what you would need to make sure your daughters are safe with you instead of being around someone who can't manage to wipe his own butt without your wife helping. Why did she even get married and have children if she was just going to run behind him and baby him? Well, she is the oldest kid, and she definitely suffers from the burden of oldest daughter stigma. At the time we got married, everybody kind of thought her brother had his act together, and that he wasn't going to have kids, I guess. I also had that oldest daughter stigma put on me. I don't act like your wife, though. My 2 younger brothers have probably helped me out more financially than I've ever been able to help them after they both became adults. This level of, I need to fix this, that your wife has, probably won't stop until she gets some therapy to unpack everything that she got burdened with as being the oldest. I still need to do therapy myself, but I know that I need it. I just have no time as a stay-at-home mom to an almost 5-year-old. Hopefully, once he's in school next year, I can finally have some time to find a therapist and get everything unpacked and dealt with. Just curious, are you going to continue, or is this all settled now? It's settled now. Just feel bad that I have to put my foot down because I get that she is just trying to help. And her entire family just thinks I am an entitled a-hole. No, it's not settled, dude. She surprised you with him once. She's going to do it again. What I read her response as is a placation until she believes your temper has changed. Then she will approach it again. May the odds be ever in your favor. The worst is when I get home from a 45-minute drive and walk into toddlers running through the house. I was talking to one of my co-workers, and he went through a similar situation, and he was telling me that starting Wednesday, I would be dreading the weekend, and by Friday, I wouldn't even want to go home.